Hey everybody, Rick with Let'sLevelUp.net. Today I wanted to talk about Smash Up, a very exciting new card game that came out in 2012. It's quickly become one of my favorite games I have on the shelf. Very lighthearted. It pays an homage to pretty much everything that is nerd culture, and there's an expansion coming out soon for it, so now's a great time to pick it up. As I'm making this video, the estimated retail price was probably $20–$25 on either Amazon or CoolStuffInc.com. I definitely recommend you getting this core set. It's awesome. In a nutshell, it's basically a PvP card game where you and I believe up to 3 others, up to 4 players, combine 2 different factions into a deck. And in that deck you use to play minions or actions to attack, basically play on a base. That base will have a, not necessarily a hit point value, but it'll have a smash value, which your minions will attribute a score to, and everybody's minions count. Once you've reached that score or higher, you'll actually smash that base and get victory points depending on what position you are. And we'll go through some of the rules here briefly. Very, very fun game. If I had to rate this, just the core set here without seeing the expansion, it's definitely a 9 out of 10. It's cheap, it's fun, definitely a game you can sit around the table and play for hours, and every time kind of get a new scenario. So very cool, very replayable. Check it out. It's a great game. In Smash Up, players take a combination of 2 different factions, such as the Tricksters, which are denoted by the shamrock here in the bottom right corner. This faction is composed of things like gnomes, brownies, have a lot of interesting traps that you can actually place on the bases that would cause harm to a player if they decided to mess with your minions or if they decide to play a minion on a certain base. A very good utility faction here to play. Each of these factions also come with 20 cards, so you're going to combine 2 of the 20 card decks to make a 40 card deck. The different factions are the Trickster with the Shamrock. You have the Ninja with the Shuriken in the bottom right. The Ninja are interesting because they allow you to bounce cards from your hand back and forth between bases. It makes it a very useful faction, very tricky faction as well. You have the Wizards, which are denoted by the owl here in the bottom right corner. A lot of cycling involved with this faction, as I think it's their primary mechanic. It allows you to play a lot more actions or minions on your turn, and also cycle through your deck, so that way you could see what's coming up next, or even put those into your hand and play them as extra actions. Very interesting faction here. One of my son's favorites here are the Dinosaurs. The Dinosaur faction is designated by the Triceratops in the bottom right corner. Is a great faction. It has a lot of big, powerful creatures like King Rex, which I believe is in here somewhere, or should be rather. Who is a 7-point minion. So a lot of big, powerful monsters here in there, dinosaurs here in the dinosaur deck. Very good brute strength. Reminds me a lot of, kind of core Magic the Gathering green cards would be. Big monsters, a lot of buffs for those monsters. Here we have the robots, which is designated by the robot icon in the bottom right corner of the card. Robots are interesting because they're very small, but they replicate themselves and allow you to play many more robots, which are very interesting. Once you get one, Skynet becomes online, so to speak, and they just keep coming. Very cool faction here. One of the big themes that's been going on in nerd culture recently are zombies. The zombie deck is very interesting because you can actually recycle these cards from your discard pile when you play them. Some of them anyways. Very interesting deck, very interesting faction. One of my favorites here are the Pirates. The Pirate faction are by far, at least so far as I've played, I have the most success rate with them. They are
generally pretty powerful minions, and they also allow you to kind of jump from base to base once a base is smashed. So very interesting faction here. Have some pretty interesting action cards as well, like Powder Keg, which allows you to do blow up a certain faction on a base, which is interesting. And then last but not least in the core set are the aliens. The aliens are a great faction because they allow you to basically be an alien. It's pretty cool. There's one of my favorite cards in the game, which I'll find really quick, is Probe, which is an action. And Probe allows you to look at another player's hand and choose a minion in it. That player discards that minion. So the artwork in this game, if I haven't said it already enough, is one of my favorites. So you got the little green guys, and it's basically you looking up to see all these aliens about to probe you. This game does not take itself too seriously, which is one of the things I love about it. Very, very interesting. Once you have picked out what faction you're going to be, the key component of this game are going to be the bases. So you'll have this blue base deck here. And these bases you'll draw or you'll lay out on the table, one for each player plus one. So if you're playing with 2 people, you'd have 3 bases, 3 people 4 bases, 4 people 5 bases, so on and so forth. You give these a shuffle before the game starts, draw them face up and lay them down. Now the base has in the top left corner the smash value. This is the total number of minion strength you have to have on a base between all players for it to smash. You have the name of the base, you have the first player score, second, and the third, basically the runners up. When a base is played, it'll have, some bases have white text at the bottom, and this white text is to determine a special action that happens either when the base is smashed, or when a minion is played on the base, or if a minion is destroyed on the base. So the white text in this game always resolves in a particular order. Again, very interesting, very fun, very simple game, great to play. So when you're getting started in this game, you're going to want to pick your favorite faction, and the game book designates the first player is whoever woke up earliest that day, which is pretty fun. The first player in the game is going to pick their first faction, and then it goes to clockwise around the table. So the second player would pick their faction, the third player would pick their faction, the fourth would pick their faction. Once all players have picked one faction, it starts again with the last player. So the fourth player would pick, and then it'd work its way back around. So the fourth player would pick the fifth faction, the third player would pick the sixth faction, and then so on and so forth. So it snakes back around. So essentially how this would work, if I'm playing, my first pick is going to be Pirates because I have the good luck charm. The player next to me is going to go ahead and pick Aliens. And say it's just a 2-player game, they're going to go ahead and get the next pick as well. So with their Aliens, they are going to pick the Dinosaurs. And that would leave me with Zombies. So I would combine my Pirates and Zombies deck and to make my Smash Up, or to make my core deck here. In Smash Up, this game has an awesome rule book. It's very thin, very colorful, and explains the game in language that's very easy. It's a very good way to know how to play the game, or get to know how to play the game rather. The writers of the rule book are pretty cheeky, which is another thing that I like. It explains the factions a bit, teaches you how to play the game. Everything you need to get started is here. I believe is available on PDF as well online. I may put a link to it in the video so you can check it out. Very good rule book. Another one of my favorite parts of the game are just the case. I love it when a game provider gives us a box that has more than enough expansion slots to handle all the future expansions, or at least the ones in the foreseeable future. So this game basically fills up half of this, and then I'm assuming the next expansion will maybe do half of the second slot, and then the next will be there. I know there are several factions already announced for the next coming up expansion. I believe are Ghosts, Steampunk, Bears. I think Plants are one. I may have just made that up, so if that's not true, I apologize. But there's so many different archetypes in our culture, a gaming culture, that they really have a lot of room to go on. And AEG and the makers of this game have made a fantastic game in Smash Up. Absolutely great. So once you start playing the game, you'll have your deck. To get started, you draw 5 cards from your deck, and you can look at them, of course. These cards here represent your starting hand. At the end of your turn, you will draw 2 more cards, and you have the hand limit of 10 cards. So let's see here. In my hand, I've got Grave Robbing, which is an action. This allows me to play a card from my discard pile back into my hand. Again, one of the zombie core mechanics here. And I also have a Walker. Look at the top card of your deck, discard it, or return it to the top of your deck. Now, I didn't quite get into minions yet, so this card is classified as a minion, and you'll note in the top left corner the strength that that minion provides once it's placed on a base. The black text of the card is always going to let you know the special abilities of that card. Some special abilities are played immediately. Some special abilities are played when the card is discarded or destroyed. Some special abilities happen whenever a base is capped, or a base is smashed, rather. So I have a Walker, I have a few pirate cards. This is a dinghy, this is an action. This allows me to move 2 of my minions to other bases. A Buccaneer. Buccaneer special ability. If this minion would be destroyed, move it to another base instead. And this is a pretty strong minion here with a strength of 4, so that's a good ability to have. The first mate has a strength of 2. It's a minion, and its special is after the base is scored, you may move this minion to another base instead of the discard pile. So here's my starting hand, and in a second I'm going to show you actually how to play that. Again, remember the key concept to Smash Up is on your turn you play one minion, one action, and then you basically chain those actions and minions placements together by pulling things out of your discard or reaching into your deck and cycling. Again, very easy, and just like any other card game, the card always dictates the rules, so you always do what the card says. So let's say that I have the starting turn in a game of Smash Up. Again, I showed you my hand earlier, but just to show you again, I've got a first mate, I've got a Buccaneer, I've got 2 actions, and a Walker. So again, to start my turn out, I'm going to go ahead and play a minion. And to play a minion, I don't have to play a minion first. I can play a minion or an action or both on my turn. I can also choose to simply not play anything. If there's nothing good to play right now, I may want to wait it out and see what my opponents are going to do. So for my minion choice, I'm going to go ahead and put my Buccaneer here. And what I like to do is when I'm playing on a base, if I'm playing with 4 players, depending on the table layout, each player takes a corner of the base. If I'm playing 2 players, I'll play on one side, they'll play on the other. Helps keep things kind of organized. I'm going to go ahead and play my Buccaneer here on the Gray Opal. Now the Gray Opal has a smash score of 17, so right now my Buccaneer is going to provide 4 to that. So essentially we need 13 more points in order to smash. They're not going to be able to do it in this opening hand. I don't have an action that's really going to go good with this, so the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my deck and I'm going to draw 2 cards from it. And I would add those. Oh, I've got 3. My mistake. Then I would add these 2 cards to my deck. Then I'd pass the turn to the next player. Play keeps proceeding around the table till it gets back to my turn, and then I have the ability to again play 1 action and one minion on my turn until this base is smashed. Now, to determine the scoring value of the base, let's say if we're already at 17, or if we even break it to 18 on a smash on a turn, these points here are given to whoever has the most, or again, the highest minion total on this base at the time that the base is smashed. So, since I'm the only one here, essentially when this base is smashed, I would get 3 points. The runner-up would get 1 and 1. If there are no runners-up, then that doesn't count. So essentially, if you're the only player that plays minions on that base to smash it, you're the only one that's going to get the victory points. Now, the thing about the Gray Opal here is after this base scores, all players other than the winner may move one minion from here to another base. So this base allows even the players who didn't quite win, they still get a victory point. And they get a chance to move a minion off that base onto another one, potentially causing multiple other smashes in the same turn. Then this can get pretty hectic. After the base is smashed and scored, you would flip the top card over of the base deck and replace it immediately. First player to score 15 wins. So you keep playing until there's no tie, which is awesome, and says that specifically in the rule book. But you're going to keep playing until a player has a score of 15 or even higher, and no one else does.
Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please tell your friends. Subscribe to this channel. Make sure you bookmark letslevelup.net and follow us on Twitter at Let's Level Up. We also have a Facebook and Google Plus page as well if you're there. We definitely want to make this a community type project. I plan on doing live play sessions, play by forum, play by webcam. All I want to do right now is play these games with you guys. So one thing I wanted to make this a little different than other board game and card game review channels that are out there on YouTube is I want to also incorporate video gaming. Just really gaming of any type, maybe some role playing. Any kind of gaming I wanted to be able to provide content for. So whether it's a review, whether it is a walkthrough or a tutorial, or even just a play session, I want to be able to get you guys stuff that's going to be entertaining, educational, and fun. Help you determine if this game is going to be right for you. Again, if I had to rate Smash Up right now, it's a 9 out of 10. Simply because I don't like to give out scores of 10. It really is a fun game. It doesn't take itself too seriously. It's artwork is great, mechanics are great. Very excited to see the expansion pack. Very cheap as well. Again, remember it's on Amazon, Cool Stuff Inc. I'm sure your local game store even has this. Go check it out. Go pick it up. It's $25 at the most I've seen it. Definitely worth it. Definitely worth it. Again, if you like it, subscribe, and we will see you next time. Thanks a lot.